Good.
Good. So let me get this straight. You're starting 9th grade, Algebra 1 this fall?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. And we worked on just a couple of online sessions in pre-algebra, basically,
Okay.
at the end of last semester.
Um,
Did your teacher or counselor give you anything that you should be working on over the summer for algebra?
no.
No?
No.
Okay. Let me check a couple of things. The most fundamental skill you're going to need to do well in high school math, and it doesn't matter if we're talking about algebra, geometry, or trigonometry, the strongest foundation you can have is what I'm about to test you on right here. So what I would like you to do is look at the problem and verbalize the answer to me as quickly as you can. Let's see how your skills are here.
Negative 45.
And for sure, put your calculator away. I'm not interested in calculator answers.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Keep going.
Negative 36.
Okay. Keep going. These are a mixture of adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing positive and negative numbers.
1.
No. Here's what I want you to do when you come across a subtraction problem. First of all, let's talk about this problem. Negative signs confuse an awful lot of people. Okay? There's two slashes here, 2 dashes. Which one is the subtraction sign and which one of them means negative?
The one right next to the 2 is the subtraction, and the one next to the 3 is negative.
Okay. Now, what I want you to do, whenever you see a subtraction problem that is complicated, change it to an addition problem. And the way you do that is you change the subtraction sign to an addition sign. And once you do that, you have to change the sign of everything that comes after that in the parentheses.
Okay.
So now the problem becomes 2 plus 3, or 2 plus 3, which is the same as 2 plus 3. So what's the answer on that one?
5.
Okay. Whoops, hold on. I got to get off that and back to this.
Zero?
Yep. Any number times 0 is 0, no matter what the number is.
Yeah, I mixed that one up with the 0 divided by 0.
That's a different story. You cannot divide by 0, but you can multiply by 0.
Yep. 2.
Okay. Now notice this subtraction problem you don't need to take that same step of turning it into a addition problem. In other words, as long as the number on the left is a positive number and the number on the right's a positive number, it's easy enough to do subtraction. What if I said 10 minus 12?
It would be negative 2.
Yeah, in other words, you don't need to do anything with that one either. If the bigger number's on the left, the smaller number's on the right, it's going to be a positive. If the smaller number's on the left, the bigger number's on the right, it's going to have the sign of whatever the bigger number is.
Okay.
So these kind of subtraction problems, just go ahead and do them the way you know how. You're going to be fine. Where it gets complicated is, tell me what this is.
It's negative 9 minus 7.
Yep. Change it. This is one where you want to change it to an addition.
Oh, okay.
So which negative sign or which dash am I going to change?
Both of them?
No? The first dash is a negative sign. That's not a subtraction sign.
Okay. I thought it was.
Now this is the subtraction sign. So I change it to an addition sign, and then I got to, what was being subtracted was a positive 7. Well, now what's being added is a negative 7.
Okay.
What's minus 9 plus minus 7?
Negative 16.
Notice how much easier the problem becomes. When you look at minus 9 minus 7, it's hard. But when you look at minus 9 plus minus 7, it's easy. That's the secret on these. Now, before we go on, I am pasting this link into the chat box. Look at your chat window under Go to Meeting. Click on that link.
Yep.
And that's going to open it in your browser on your computer. Now I want you to save that so you can get back to it. This is the greatest page in the world. And believe it or not, it's not that easy to find. I had to search the internet many, many hours before I found a site that lets you drill on all 4 addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division using positive and negative numbers, and that's the exact skill you need for high school mathematics. Everything else will be easy if you get really good at this. So the reason I wanted you to put this on your computer so you could practice it on your own time.
Okay.
I don't want to spend our entire half hour doing arithmetic. But I want to show you where if you want to spend 10 minutes a day, you'll get really good at this. I promise you.
Okay.
Okay? And if you're really, really good at this, this is all single digit stuff. Nobody's asking you to multiply 12 times 13. This is all single digit stuff. Okay, they may ask you to divide 72 by 9. What's 72 by 9 divided by 9?
6? No.
Okay.
I was thinking of 12.
I want to give you the rule of 9. Very valuable rule. Hold on a second. Gotta be able to write. You will never miss a 9 times anything again. Notice anything?
That each time 9, the number increases. The number
more than that. Add the digits up on the right side of each of these equations. What are they total?
9.
Aye, every one of them. And in fact, the way you can always get your 9's tables is this digit is 1 less than this digit. And the next digit has to add to 9. So when I'm doing 9 times 8, I know my answer starts with a 7, right? 1 less than 8.
Yep.
And what's the next digit have to be?
2, because 7 plus 2 equals 9.
Exactly. And believe it or not, it goes all the way up to this. 9 times, it goes all 9s. In other words, you can take a 6-digit number, and if it adds up to 9, it's divisible by 9. Notice this is 108. Well, what does 108 add up to? 9.
Mm-hmm.
That's the rule of 9. So that's one of the easier multiplication tables to memorize because of this property. Basically, you don't need to memorize anything. Essentially, 9 times 1 is 9. So they always add up to 9. And the first digit's always 1 less than what you're multiplying the 9 by. Unless it's 2 digits, then you can't say the first digit is 11. It's not. Okay? So that doesn't apply, but the only thing I want you to really know by heart, without a calculator, is your nines tables. Well, I want you to know them all, but that's one easy way to remember your nines tables.
Okay.
All right, what's this one? We'll just stay on this for a little bit.
3.
Whoops, gotta click in the box. Oh, hold on. Okay, what's this?
-5.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
-5.
-5, yep. Okay.
14.
Change it to an addition problem. What'd you say?
14.
Keep going. Change it to an addition problem. The more negative signs you have, the easier it becomes if you change it to an addition problem.
-7.
Very good. Sign first, always, on multiplication and division problems. I don't want you to think of the number. I want you to think of the sign. Is it going to be plus or minus?
Is it positive?
Now do the number.
21.
Yeah. In other words, the process I want you to think of is you have a negative number times a negative number. That's a positive number. So the sign is positive. Always.
Okay.
And that's the process you want to go through in your brain. You don't want to do the number first. You don't want to get the 21 first. You want to figure out what the sign's going to be.
0.
Sign first.
Positive 80.
Sign first.
Negative 44. Is it -2?
Good. Sign first. One time I say sign first is if it's a multiplication or a division problem. Because that's the first thing you should realize is what the sign's going to be.
Is it positive?
Uh-huh.
44.
Did you say 44?
Yep. 7. Uh, 1.
Now see, the reason this is so important for algebra, because when you solve an algebra equation, you have to generally do 6 or 7 of these to solve it. And it's always adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing by single digits, positive and negative numbers. That's why this is such an important skill. It's because you don't want to have to use a calculator to do 7 little steps to solve a simple equation. And that's what algebra is all about, is solving equations. So it just is not practical if you have to use a calculator. It just isn't. And that's really tough because you've spent your whole life with calculators. You've had a calculator as long as you've been alive. So it's real easy to slip up and not be perfect on these problems because a lot of times you don't have to be. You've got your calculator. Okay? But that's a big mistake. It really is. To get 100% dependent on a calculator. That's the worst thing that can happen for the development of your math skills. How about this one?
It is it 0?
Nope. Change the subtraction to an addition always. Whenever you see a lot of negative signs, well, let me put it this way. Whenever you see more than one negative sign, change it to an addition problem.
Okay.
How do I do?
Um,
In other words, to change it to an addition problem, this is my subtraction sign, right?
mm-hmm.
So I got to change the sign. I was subtracting a positive 4. Now I'm going to be adding a negative 4. So this is what we have. Negative 4 plus negative 4. You're never missing that. What is that?
It's positive 8.
Negative 8.
Negative 8.
Distinguish between multiplication and adding. When you are adding two negative numbers, your answer is going to be negative. When you are multiplying two negative numbers, your answer is going to be positive. So it's extremely important that you distinguish between the two.
Okay.
Okay? And it's a very common mistake to get those mixed up and get the sign wrong because of it.
8.
Sign first. This division.
Negative 2. Uh, 16. Negative 12.
Nope. This is not a subtraction problem. This is an addition problem.
Yep.
That negative sign you're looking at is a negative 6. If you add a negative 6 to a positive 6, what do you get?
0.
Mm-hmm. This is a subtraction problem.
Yep. Negative 11.
Good. All right. I'm going to stop that for now. We just have a few minutes left. But I'd like you to practice this. You're not bad, but you're not as good as you need to be.
Yep.
Okay? So, and it's not going to take much practice. I'm not kidding you. If you did this 10 minutes every day, within a week, you're not going to believe how good you are at it. Okay?
Yep.
All right. Let's see what they have to say about algebra. Let me give you some algebra problems. I don't know the exact order of how they're going to teach you Algebra 1, but in all honesty, there's very little difference between Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and Algebra 3. It's just degree of difficulty. Algebra 1 is a little easier, Algebra 2 is a little medium, Algebra 3 is a little hard. Okay? But I'd have a hard time drawing the line that separates the three. So there's one thing about algebra that you absolutely are going to have to know, and that's factoring. That's almost the basis of algebra. That's what you're going to be started off on, I believe. Maybe it won't come till the second or third week. Like I said, I don't know exactly what they're going to start you off with in Algebra 1. You going to Chatfield?
Yeah.
Okay. It's liable to be fairly tough. Chatfield's got a pretty good curriculum. They're a tough school. I know because I tutor all the schools in the whole city and suburbs, and I know which ones have the tough curriculum and which ones have the easier curriculums. Chatfield's pretty tough. I wouldn't say they're the toughest, but let me give you a simple equation. Instead of starting with factoring, since we have just a few minutes, Let me just give you a simple equation and see if you know how to solve it. You know what to do with this? Okay. I have no idea. I'm trying to get a feel for how much algebra you've had. I know you've taken pre-algebra, but that tends to be algebra. So, you know how, what's the first step you would do here?
So you would add 4.
Okay.
You would cancel out the 4.
So now you got 3x equals 12. Now what?
And then you divide it by 3.
Primary rule in algebra is you can do anything you want to one side of the equation as long as you do it to the other.
Yep.
In other words, I could square it if I needed to, as long as I square that. I could square root it, as long as I square root that. There are so many mathematical processes that you haven't even learned yet, like taking the derivative, the logarithm, the integral, same thing. You can do it to either side. It's just one of the most fundamental rules of algebra. And it's an important one because it helps you solve equations better. Now, how about foiling? Have you learned how to foil?
I don't think so.
They may not call it foiling.
Yeah, that's why I don't think.
Do you know how to multiply this linear term by this linear term?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm kind of glad that you haven't learned foiling because they shouldn't call it FOIL. That's old school. What they really should call it is you multiply every term by every term. In other words, I'm going to take this term, I'm going to multiply it by that, and then I'm going to multiply it by that, add it to that first term. Then I'm going to take this term, multiply it by that, add it to the first two terms. Then I'm going to take that term, multiply it by that. So I actually call it ET, which works even if there are 3 terms in one of these. In other words, FOIL only works, this is a binomial, that's a binomial. As long as you're multiplying one binomial by another, then FOIL works fine. FOIL stands for first, outside, inside, last. But ET, that's exactly what I did. I did first, outside, inside, last. Okay? So what's the answer? What's 3x times 2x?
So you would multiply 3x by 2x, which would be 6x.
6x squared.
And
Next term. In other words, this part, the 3x times the minus 4. Minus 12x. Now what's the inside part? What's plus 1 times 2x?
2x.
Plus 2x. You need the sign. Notice that I cannot leave that plus sign missing. Otherwise this expression doesn't make any sense. You gotta include the sign unless it's the first term. I didn't need a plus sign in front of the 6, but I need the plus sign in front of the 2. And what's the last term? What's plus 1 times minus 4?
Minus 4.
Yeah. Now notice that when we multiply these two terms, this term comes from just those two multiplied together, nothing else. The last term, the constant, without the variable, that comes from this plus 1 times minus 4, nothing else. But the two middle terms can be combined. So when I combine everything, what's minus 12x plus 2x?
8x.
No, minus 12 plus 2.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said something else. Negative
You can begin.
10x.
Yes.
Negative 10x?
Begin to see why that other stuff is so important.
Yep.
Because you are constantly doing this. I don't mean once a day. I mean 20 times a day in math class. You have to do these simple calculations. You have to know what minus 12 plus 2 is. And you don't want to have to use your calculator for that. So this is the answer. Okay? Notice what that is. That is a quadratic. You know what a quadratic means?
No.
No? It means that you have an expression that has an x squared in it. That's a quadratic. If your expression only has x, like 3x plus 1, that's a linear term. That, if I were to graph that, that would be a straight line. If I were to graph this quadratic, it would be a parabola. It would look like this. Whereas this first term is a straight line. Looks like that. So linear means it would graph as a straight line and the x's are to the power of 1 only. Quadratic, when you take a linear term and multiply it by a linear term, you get a quadratic where the greatest power of x is x squared. This graphs as a curved line, a parabola. Either graphs as that or like that, one or the other.
Yeah.
It's a good place to stop. And it gives me a feel for how to continue. School starts not that far away, right? Like a month?
In I think in about a month.
Yeah, about a month. August. I think I had a student tell me August 18th or something like that.
16th.
16th even. Wow, less than a month. Okay. Well, Kate, I hope this was helpful. And I certainly would encourage you to spend some time on that page that I sent to you.
Yep.
And I'm happy to continue from here before you get back in school.
Okay.
And I think it's a good idea for you to do it. Not because you need it, but it's always better to be ahead than behind. Once you get behind in math, it's extremely difficult to get caught up. It just is. Even with a tutor, because I got to work on old stuff plus current stuff. There's just not enough time. But if you can get ahead of the curve a little bit, you'll be in good shape. And then you'll be able to keep up with your math teacher.
Yep.
In class. Okay. Well, Kate, I will talk to you again, I hope, and good luck.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. Do you know how to close out of this session?
Yeah.
Just hit the X. Talk to you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.